Hello and welcome to Overcoming the Top 5 Obstacles Between You and Recurring Monthly Revenue. My name is Sharon Shaw. I'm the President of Integrator Support, and if you're unfamiliar with us, basically our task in life is to help security systems integrators develop a managed services business model, and we do that by offering services themselves and offering a dealer program which incorporates sales and marketing and training and other kinds of things to help you be better equipped as you go about this effort. Now, today we're going to focus on some of what we've been hearing from our dealers out there about, what obstacles they've faced and how they've overcome those obstacles in order to be successful and gain some traction. So while we'll talk a little bit about the services, the key here today is really to think of this as an opportunity to learn from others in your same predicament and, what experiences we can help portray that you guys can learn from and benefit from. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I am recording this session, so you are more than welcome to follow up with me, and I'll get you a recording, and we can forward this to anybody else on your team that would like to attend that couldn't make it today. In addition to that, if you have any questions, I'd like to have you send those via the chat feature in your control panel, and just ask a question, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll go through all of those questions that you have. So the deliverables for this particular session are identifying the top 5 obstacles. What is it? I think a lot of people don't realize that there are others that are facing these similar situations. And so basically what I've done is established a bit of a trend. And what is it that I'm seeing as a commonality among our dealers that are trying to get into this business? And what is it that's working and what is it that's not working? And how can I help educate you so you can benefit from that? So we'll talk about what those 5 obstacles are, and then we'll also talk about how do we overcome these obstacles? What is it that we need to do in order for us to get past these points? And I will tell you that every organization, every one of you integrators has a different status. You offer different product lines. You have a different type of customer base. You have different people on your staff that you're working with to make this happen. So while there are some similarities, everything is really unique from company to company, and we're identifying these patterns so that way you can take these ideas and concepts and reflect on how to relate them to your situation. And we're here to help you with that process. So let's start with identifying what these top 5 obstacles are. The first one is understanding the value proposition of managed security services. I think there are a lot of sales professionals that assume that anything about RMR-related services are just good for your company and not necessarily in the best interest of the customer. But that's not true. There is a clear return on investment with these solutions, and the key is that everybody's got to understand and appreciate what those solutions are. And the sooner that they're able to embrace that solution and the way that that customer can benefit from these services, the sooner they'll be effective in selling the solutions. But until we understand how this benefits the customer, selling it is very unlikely. The next thing is developing your technology packages. I've seen a lot of companies that they have number 1 going on. They get it. They want to help their customers. They've got the types of clients that are dealing with vandalism or theft or things that can be prevented with these services, and so they want to go out and sell it. But the problem is that they don't really know what equipment they're going to use. They haven't gotten the buy-in from maybe a project manager, and because they don't have the technology package incorporated into the services, they're still unable to succeed. The next thing is identifying prospects. So once you understand what value proposition you have and how you can deliver it through technology, the next question is, well, who is the right fit for these solutions? And we'll talk about how to find those people both in new customers as well as in your existing customer base. Number 4 is aligning your entire staff with the corporate goal. This is critical. You have got to get the buy-in from the entire organization to be successful in this endeavor. So you can't just have one person totally responsible for the entire thing and then expect everybody else, to be, outside of that. It requires the technicians, it requires the project managers, and to a lesser degree, because these projects tend to be smaller in scope and scale, but still it's critical that everybody buys in. And lastly is rolling out a turnkey sales and marketing program, which we can bring to you. We don't charge for our dealer program. It's one of those things that comes as a benefit of becoming an integrator support dealer. And the first thing that we need to do is just simply get you some sales. And that's when we make money. We don't make money until you make money. So let's start talking about number one, the obstacle of the understanding the value proposition. So I'm going to go through the three major services that we offer, and then that way we'll just touch on what those are. Now, we have entire webinars that cover each one of these in more detail. We'll continue to push out that material, and we can always hop on a one-on-one call to answer any questions that you have. But let's just skim the surface so you get a feel for what they are. The first thing is virtual guard services, which is delivered in those 4 bullets at the top through event-driven monitoring, virtual guard tours, virtual doorman services, and virtual chaperones. So what are the advantages? Basically, you have to understand a little bit about how it works to understand the advantages. Event-driven monitoring is based on exceptions, or it's based on violations of a security policy. So if you have a perimeter and we're protecting that perimeter with video surveillance and somebody breaches that perimeter, that would drive an event. And typically we do that with like video analytics, PIRs, door contacts, other types of alarm signals. The next is a virtual tour. And if you think about it from a guarding mindset, if I was an actual guard, a physical guard, what would I do with my day? You might have one guard in the back room monitoring the video system. You might have another one doing what we call patrols or tours, where they purposely go to specific areas on the premises to look for things that might be of concern, or even just to be seen, just simply for people to be aware that there is somebody here responsible with protecting this premises. The next is a virtual doorman. So maybe it's a gated area, or it's actually like the lobby of a high-rise. Basically, a virtual doorman is somebody who authenticates persons before permitting entry. So we can do that remotely through passcodes and identification, and then remotely open doors and gates. And the last one, a virtual chaperone, is, if somebody is maybe taking out the deposit box for the end of the night, or perhaps they have, it's a jeweler and they're moving some of their inventory, or maybe it's just a lady who is a nurse at a local hospital that's kind of in a rough part of town and wants to make sure she makes it to her vehicle without any kind of incident. That's what a chaperone does, is it basically escorts someone from point A to point B. So you can think of it like you have the ability to deliver 4 guards in a virtual setting at a fraction of the cost of 1 guard. Okay, so that's what you can deliver. So the benefits are that it's proactive, so we're being more, I guess you could say, targeted in what we're surveilling. So instead of just hanging up some cameras in a yard where there's been a lot of theft and hope that you are able to get a good image of the guy that's responsible so you can go find him later and prosecute. No, basically we use the surveillance as a real-time incident trigger, so that way we are communicating with authorities and we're getting something to happen so we can intervene right in that moment. Also, it's just a standard visual verification. If you have an area where there are different municipalities that are requiring video verification before police dispatch, and if you don't verify and they go and it's a false alarm triggered by a bunny, they will charge you. Your customer might be getting fined over and over again because bunny rabbits are triggering false alarms. And that is something that can be prevented. In addition to just the prevention of false alarm dispatch, what visual verification does is it also alerts authorities that there's a witness to what's happening, and so they're able to prioritize accordingly, and they'll get there faster. And as you go up the scale in the services that we offer, if you're doing anything that incorporates live video, we provide beginning-to-end incident management. So what does that mean? Last weekend, we had a break-in at one of the facilities we monitor. And basically, there were 3 individuals that were seen picking through the product, picking through the inventory, moving it to this back corner of the lot. And then there was this wooded area outside where they were going to pull this truck in to start loading up the inventory. So when we saw that people were there in the first place, our immediate reaction is dispatch. That's the protocol we set with the customer. So we dispatched the authorities, and then after they were on the way, we continued to monitor. And when the first officer arrived, we were able to give them feedback of which side of the building they should be parking on so that they could be positioned in a way where they can see what's happening without being seen first. So as this officer was waiting for backup to arrive, we were still connected to the site. We still knew what was going on, still communicating with the dispatcher. And then as additional officers came to the scene, they were able to apprehend the suspects without any kind of surprise. And so it was an effective tool. It prevented all the loss of that inventory, and now there's a true resolution at the end of the day. Now, we were connected to that site for about 28 minutes in total. So from end to end, incident management, that's what that means. After that incident happened, we then send a report and audit trail to the customer that they can use, with the police, with their insurance provider, anybody else that might need that kind of information in their file. And that report includes a time-stamped audit trail of when the alarm came in, when our operators began the monitoring process, what they saw. All the video clips that were associated are also recorded and attached to this file. So it provides them with not only the prevention and the protection, but again, it's keeping them in compliance and it's keeping them documented fully without having to go back to their NVR and dig up the video footage on their own. And lastly, the obvious benefit is a reduction in theft, vandalism, and loitering. So, I mean, in addition to the fact that you're providing them up to 4 guard-type services, where it would require 4 different bodies to actually physically guard a facility, we're able to do it at the fraction of the cost of 1 full-time security guard. So then hosted and managed access control, this one's a little bit more, I think, straightforward. Basically hosted anything means that the server is somewhere in the cloud. It's no longer on site, and all of the data is stored in a data center, and that allows the end user to have a very simple browser-based GUI to log into and manage that database. Now, sometimes a customer might just want a hosted system. Perhaps it's a customer that has lots of locations. They want to scale it as they continue to grow their operation, but they don't want to install a server at each site. They don't have the IT staff to man each site and manage those servers. So hosted access in and of itself certainly comes with a value proposition. The second thing is the management of that access control database. So adding new users, modifying schedules, pulling reports, the kinds of things that maybe they don't have a true security person to handle. So maybe they're underutilizing an access control system today, whereas if they had someone else manage and monitor it for them, they would be more efficient and they would have better information and better intel to work with. So that's, in essence, the value proposition of handling the management for them. An example is like a property management firm. They hate having to drive from site to site to site to go add a new user for this one single tenant that occupies this one suite of this building. They would much rather spend their time actually maintaining the facility and doing things that add value to the buildings that they own. So it's really important that you identify, all the prospects that might fit this model and understand how does this fit into your operation, exactly how much time might we be saving you, and in addition to saving you that time, how much money does that, convert to? hosted video, it's interesting. There's different opinions about hosted video. If you follow John Hanovich at all, he'll tell you that he doesn't believe in it. Point blank, he doesn't believe in it. And he's a very technical, highly competent individual to make evaluations of different products and services. However, it might not be the most technically astute and best way of handling it. But there are certainly companies, customers out there that desire a simple, clean browser application that they can manage video from, where they can have storage either redundantly stored off-site or perhaps all of their storage off-site, and the ability to be alerted on a mobile device when something is happening in those sites where that surveillance is taking place. So, there is a value proposition to be had. Now, a lot of people say, well, why not just order this NVR that comes with an app? That works too. That works too. I'm not saying not to do that. However, there is a cost savings associated with eliminating a server on site. There's a cost savings associated with software upgrades and things of that nature. And if they're not the type of customer that has the infrastructure or the staff to manage and maintain servers, this is a very good solution. The integrators I've seen really successful with hosted video, basically they have a very straight, targeted marketing approach where they have one, encoder. This is what they talk to people about. This is the one thing that they use. They go into a customer. They explain that this is what we can give you. You can watch your video from anywhere. You can be aware of what's happening at your business any time of day or night. And it's only going to cost you X per month. And to them, that's a viable, feasible solution. People will buy it. Now, if you don't want to sell it, that's fine. If you don't have the customers to sell it, that's fine too. I'm not going to tell you that every customer needs all of these services or that these services are the right fit for every type of customer. That's not true, okay? I understand that. However, it is our responsibility as professionals in the security industry to educate and inform our customers and the users of these systems about the new up-and-coming technologies and what they can leverage to maintain their security and life safety. So the benefits, in addition to the mobility and all of that, is also, similar to the hosted access where, the server's somewhere else. There's not going to be a situation where somebody comes and it's a smash and grab in a retail shop and they take the DVR with them on the way out. The surveillance footage is safe in a data center. So there's certainly something to be said for that. Okay, so obstacle number two, technology packages. The key thing here is that no matter, who you have on your team or how much your salespeople believe in these services, even if everybody buys in and says, I have customers that need these services, I understand, that this is in their best interest and I can go out and sell it. If you don't have the buy-in from your project managers, from your senior technicians, from your design team, you will not get anywhere because you have to know how to package it. It's got to be a standardized, kind of package that it's the product that you are happy supporting, that you're certified, and your technicians are already trained. We've got to make sure that it's stuff that you guys are comfortable with. Second to that is that going forward, it's considering what do we want to install? What are the products we really like? What's really sexy? What is it that we want to promote? So, I've for a long time thought that my job was to help recommend devices. And to a certain extent, that's true, specifically in areas such as like video analytics. It doesn't make sense for each of you to have to go bench test it for yourself when we have the G4S team that's, highly qualified to do that and handle some of that due diligence for you. So we certainly are able to do that. That's not the question. But the obstacle that I've seen in most cases is not necessarily having a lack of recommendations, but it's a lot more so that people want to use, they want to know specifically, which of the product lines do I sell? Can I apply to a managed services solution? And which of my customers do I sell this to? And those solutions, like I was saying, every business is a little bit unique. The answers to those questions will be different for almost every one of you. But the key is that you have to go through the process to find your answer, because if you don't do that, you won't get anywhere. So you'll see that I have legacy, new installations, video analytics, an analog to IP conversion, access control, and intrusion. I mean, those are your basic things that you need to consider when you're developing your packages. So for legacy, what have we installed a lot of? Over the last 5 years, what is the most common DVR? What is the most common IP camera? What have we installed the most of? And then you need to determine your compatibility with those products. And we have a compatibility matrix, which I can show you, that you can compare. And you can see, okay, we use this, we use that, we use this, we use that. Now let's start with where we've already installed those things and determine out of those businesses which of these services are the best fit. For new installations, it's making sure that you feel comfortable going forward with recommending whether it's an encoder or a video analytic product or whatever you might add to a site or design for a new site. You know, what is it that you want to position, and making sure the same thing. What's compatible, and work backwards. What's compatible and what do we feel the most comfortable with? And all of these different categories I think are pretty straightforward. Identifying prospects is certainly an obstacle, okay? You know, it's one of those things where, you know, people don't pick up the phone and call and say, hey Joe, I need you to quote me a virtual guard service. People don't necessarily know that these solutions are even out there. So it's our job to educate and inform them of what's available, right? But to a certain degree, you need to know who you're targeting. You need to know who to talk to. Who do I educate and inform? So these are the things to consider. Your existing customer base. What markets, industries, business types do you guys typically sell to? And based on that, what are their key security concerns? If you sell to a lot of car dealerships, what are the things that concern them the most? What is their budget like when they talk to you? Are they trying to lowball you all the time, or are they somebody who understands the benefit of megapixel video or license plate capture? You know, those are the kinds of things you need to consider. If we've already sold to these markets, what is it that they've installed previously? What's already out there? And then secondly is your new customer base. Who do you want to sell to? What types of clients might you go win over using these services? So it's a similar consideration. You know, we're really strong in education, and healthcare seems like a great opportunity. How do we go after healthcare? And which of these types of services might be a good fit in a healthcare setting? You have to identify where you want to go. And similarly, with those businesses that you're targeting, what are their key concerns? How do you make sure that you're giving them what they want? And then lastly is, what do you want to propose as far as product? So this ties in a lot with that technology package, right? You have to kind of know where you're going to install the technology to determine what the right technology package might be. So you need to do these things together, which means you need collaboration between all of your departments, okay? And that's one of the next things we're talking about, which is company alignment. You need to be able to define the expectations. Well, how much of this am I supposed to be selling? How many sites are we supposed to have online? How quickly do we need to install these systems once they're sold? What's the throughput that we're looking for? You have to be able to identify the expectations you're going to have for every one of your departments. Your accounts receivable department is going to have to understand monthly billing procedures if you're going to collect on a monthly basis. Your sales team is going to have to know what the targets are, how many new things in the pipeline, what to review. Those are the kinds of things that need to be clear, and it is company-wide. I'll tell you that the dealers that I work with today, a lot of them have tried to just hire one person throw them out there and say, go sell this stuff without any infrastructure support at all. And I mean, yeah, sure, when they make a sale, they come back, hey, I need to design a 6-camera system for this parking lot. Okay, well, I'm working on, you know, a 62-camera system for a high school. That's more important. I'll get to yours when I get to it. You need to have your project managers, anybody that has to do with the process of designing, deploying, proposing, selling, maintaining these systems. They have to know what you're looking for. And then compensation programs. Similarly to just defining the expectation, people need to be compensated based on how they support this effort. And I talked a little bit about departmental cooperation, but you've got to have people held accountable. It's not just the sales team. This is, you know, everybody that needs to cooperate with each other and understand the vision. But it all comes down to, if you're project manager, if you're senior technician, if those guys don't understand the value proposition and why you're going to market with these new services and solutions, it still won't get off the ground. It is essential that everybody, top down, understands and cooperates. And as far as who's selling, we talked about it, but think about like who you want out there. Is it your existing sales staff that's used to selling 6-figure jobs left and right? Are they the right fit to sell these services? Perhaps. Perhaps, you know, you might be surprised how many of those nice-sized jobs can use a virtual guard type solution. I think that surprises people every day. And, you know, so the key is understanding that you want everyone selling. Everyone needs to be selling. Everyone needs to be aligned. But similarly, everybody needs to feel rewarded when they do that. And when you guys are having your sales meetings, invite Sharon Shaw. Invite me to help, because that pipeline review is critical too, because you might be surprised at how many of the projects you're already working on you could apply a managed services solution to. Now, as far as external company alignment, what I mean by this is really the branding. It all needs to align with who you are and the culture you're trying to portray. So this means that if someone goes to your website, they should know about these services. If someone picks up a brochure, it should mention these services. If you're out talking to the Chamber of Commerce or bumping into someone at the grocery store and they ask you what you do, it's got to be about services. If you know, the inside out, you know, perception is not there, people still won't recognize you and your company as a player in this market. Now, to this end, we have a new relationship with a gentleman named Chris Peterson. His company is called Vector Firm. And what Chris does is he is a hands-on sales consultant, and he specializes in assisting companies like yours with aligning their sales team, restructuring the organization, identifying strengths and weaknesses and processes and different things that can make your company engine run better. And so, like I said, our dealer program and our marketing materials and all that good stuff is free. This is one thing where there's a cost, but it's something that can really help you get a good feel for what's happening in your organization and get some real-world, practical, road-tested recommendations on how to fix it. In addition to that, he has sort of a secondary service where you can have him help you deploy those recommendations. And I know right now he's on staff with a couple of PSA companies you might recognize, Intelligent Access Systems, as well as Star Asset Security. Two very fine, large regional players are using Chris Peterson's services to improve their sales. So something to think about if your company is having a hard time making this transition. Now, as soon as you're done working with the Vector Firm and they get, you know, you've got all the corporate goals, you've got all these kinks ironed out, this is when you start really getting to take advantage of the Integrator Support Dealer Program. And I'll tell you, a few of my dealer companies, I feel like I got the cart ahead of the horse a little bit, where we started promoting and marketing, but they still didn't really know what products they were going to sell. They still didn't really have the buy-in from the entire organization, and because of that, it's kind of been a little bit of a push and pull, you know, take 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. So it's important to do these things in the right order as well, and we can help with that. And when you're ready for the rollout, it's important, again, to look at the website, your email blast, snail mail communications, webinars, any kind of corporate documentation that you distribute. And if you focus on specific vertical markets, maybe you participate in the local retail expo each year, or perhaps you go to the BOMA meetings or something like that. If you are targeting a specific vertical, we can assist with identifying the solutions for that vertical, developing presentations for you to use. We'll even deliver if you want us to deliver some of those presentations. So that really sums up the 5 obstacles and how I've seen others overcome these objections. So what I'd like to do now is if anybody has any questions, please feel free to go ahead and start typing those in. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to hang on the line and hear what some others have to say. And if I don't talk to you again, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. So the first question that we received is, what is the pricing for virtual guard service? So I know I mentioned that typically, we are under what it would cost to have a single guard there for that shift. Basically, it depends on what flavor of monitoring you quote. There is really basic, from intrusion systems all the way up to, you have video verification, maybe using VideoFide. So it can start as low as, a few bucks a month for intrusion to 30 bucks a month or so for video verification. And then moving up, one of our recent sales was for over $1,500 a month that the integrator is collecting, for a virtual guard solution where we're doing tours on a facility that previously had physical guards there. So they're going to be saving a significant amount of money no longer having those guards. And similarly, they are going to benefit from that additional recurring monthly revenue. The next question is whether there's a cost to joining integrator support. No, there's no cost to becoming an integrator support dealer. Basically, we don't make money, like I said earlier in the presentation, until you make money. We are the service provider. So we'll help you go out and generate the demand. We'll be there for you to get trained, put your packages together, and assist you. All of that stuff is certainly available. The key thing is to to order the services from us once that demand is generated. That's how we'll end up making money. Can we get a copy of this presentation? Absolutely. For the person who asked that, I will email it to you directly, this PowerPoint. But in addition, I did record this specific presentation. So if there's somebody else who wants to hear the message firsthand, you can forward the link that I'll send to you. And then that way, they can benefit from what we covered today. And of course, as always, any questions that you have, that you think of in an hour or a week or whenever, it comes up, please don't hesitate to call us. You can reach out to us through the webinar emails that were sent to you, or also, just contact us at our 1-800 number that's listed on our website and in the bottom of my email signature, and we will be there to answer your questions. So with that, I want to thank you all for your time today. I know how valuable it is, and I hope, again, that you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and have a great weekend. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.